Okay, can everybody hear? Okay, we're about ready to get started here. We're going to be here at about 4 o'clock. What is the game plan? We have it broke up into different sessions. First of all, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Devin Kilmer, I'm president of Little League here in Hedgesville. We thank everybody for coming today. We normally have an umpire clinic at Hedgesville Middle School, but we've changed things. Little League has changed things. Little League has now mandated that we have a clinic, and Pivot Physical Therapy is going to be here in about a half hour and help us with that. Our first guest today is Nora Faircloth. She is an attorney here in Martinsburg, and she's going to go over some things that's going to be really helpful to you guys and gals. You really need to listen to her presentation. Everybody knows that the times have changed in today's world, and she's going to give you a little heads up on what not to do and what to do. Okay, so let's welcome Nora Faircloth.
So much for having me, and as Devin said, my name is Laura Faircloth. I'm an attorney in Martinsburg. Spent my whole life here and went to school at West Virginia University College of Law and employ a couple of attorneys. And a hand sign that you can't hear me. Can you hear me better now? Better? Talk a little louder? I've got one of those colds going on, so I apologize. I'm an attorney in Martinsburg, grew up here my whole life, and I don't have to say I know what you feel, I know what you think, I know what you experience, because I am one of you. So I do understand and have to deal with some of these same things in my own law practice. This, for lack of a better terminology, is your sensitivity training, like it or not, about racial issues that are confronting us day in and day out. All you have to do is turn the news on, you understand it, you know that it's a huge deal nationwide. So there are a couple of things that I would point you to, first of all, to become a better organization, and you guys are a service group, you truly are. I know that there are things you could better do on a Sunday than sit here and talk about Little League, but you're here because you care about it, and you're here because you care about the kids, and you want it to be the best program possible. So I've been asked by Nevin to come here and give you some pointers about how to be a little better at what we do. And I am a former Little League mom. I have a 20-year-old son that went to Little League in Martinsburg, and he's hopefully going to be playing ball for a D1 school, and we know that that's what we all aspire for. So I understand everything that you're going through. And that having been said, I understand that one of the things that we all confront as parents, as coaches, as volunteers, is that people always are concerned about playing time. And when they're concerned about their kids' playing time, that manifests into a whole bunch of other things that you didn't even think were coming. So this is my opportunity to try to share with you ways to avoid being found in a litigation situation. Because someone who's very sensitive about what's going on will absolutely make an issue if the circumstances present themselves. So let's get started. How many of you have heard the phrase, don't be afraid to raise hands, how many of you have heard the phrase Black Lives Matter? Okay. I think that it's fair to say that most people who grew up in this area or have lived in this area most of their lives, initially when they heard about it said, well sure, all lives matter, right? Is that pretty much your response? And the problem with that, in doing the research, is that the movement of Black Lives Matter goes well beyond just the statement, Black Lives Matter. Most of the people in this room, I would suggest, are probably ethnically not in tune with Black Lives Matter as a matter of family history. But we've become sensitized. And what the movement basically means is this. If you're white, you don't know what it's like to live black. And if you don't know what it's like to live black, then you have no idea of understanding that your grandfather or your great-grandfather may have been harassed, beaten, hurt, killed, simply because the color of their skin was different. And because you haven't lived that life, you can't understand how it feels to be black. That's what Black Lives Matter means. So can we fix it today? Probably not, but I have a couple of ideas that will help all of us, and I've tried to condense it into about 8 points. And the first one is some things that you don't do if you don't want to find yourself in a situation of litigation. Don't comment on a person's skin color. Period. Don't do it. Something as simple as, gee, you have a nice tan, can be taken by someone who has an ethnically diverse background to mean you're racially slurring that person. And that leads me to my next point. Don't assume, do not assume that you know someone's ethnic background. Do not look at a person and assume, oh, you're white, you're black, you're Hispanic. Because trust me, you do not know. And so those folks who do know their own ethnic background are sensitized to things that are about their skin color. And this is just common practice, not only as it relates to sensitivity training, but please, as much as we depend upon social media as it relates to your service to Little League, do not use social media for anything other than to tell people where to be, when to be there, and how long you think the practice might last, period. Don't comment on another player. Don't comment on playing time. Don't engage or be engaged in an argument that may lead to something racially connected or even beyond that. Don't do it, because people take pictures of text messages, they alter them, they take pictures of Facebook, and they can alter those. So the most innocent communication back and forth between coaches and volunteers and parents can come back to haunt you, and now you have to have a lawyer defend you and be able to try to explain, oh no, that's not what the message was, I didn't say that, that was taken out of context. So just don't do it, don't. As soon as you have your phone in your hand and not as guilty as the next person about trying to do it quickly and efficiently, just say meeting time, practice time, and where. Done. Do not engage in anything that can come back to haunt you. Case in point, when I was researching last night on the internet, I went to a couple of different lawyer websites, none from around this area. I want to read to you what I found from an attorney in a different state that said what you should do if you are experiencing racial harassment. Obviously, this is a law firm that takes racially harassing lawsuits. And it says, make sure your harasser knows that you find it offensive. If you can solve the problem on your own, you're better off. If it ends, move on. Complaints to management rarely have happy endings. So far, so good. And then, and I'm not saying this lawyer did anything wrong. This is absolutely what I would do if I were doing this type of a lawsuit. It says, preserve evidence. Racial comments are often texted or emailed. Save them. Take a photo with your cell phone of offensive postings and ask your coworkers for signed statements. It goes on to explain that if you don't do it initially, people become scared and they won't come forward and be willing to communicate in a statement that the attorney might later be able to use. So you're all subject to that kind of scrutiny. So it's not something that I'm just imagining. This is what's out there on the internet for lawyers who are looking for cases to help people who find that they believe they've been racially or sexually harassed. Okay. Another point that I thought was very important is do not ever practice alone with any player for any reason. Even if the player's parent is present, don't do it. Always practice with a group. Practice with your team. If you're going to practice with your own son or daughter, that's fine. If they have a friend that's not a member of Little League, then that's okay to practice with that person. But do not practice privately with anyone, because you never know when you're going to be taped. You never know when the cell phone is going to be on. And even if the parent is there, you never know when that cell phone is going to be on. It's just the day in which we live. And I'm sorry to say that, but if you want to protect yourself from someone coming back against you, do not practice privately with any player. Practice as a team. It's okay to practice with key players, like if you want to do pitching and catching, if you want to do work with your infield, work with your outfield, that's fine, but not a private lesson with a student, even if the parent's present. And of course, no racial slurs. And unfortunately, back in my day, racial slurs were limited to probably one word. It began with the N. It's now called the N-word, and we all knew that we weren't supposed to use that. But in today's world, we have so many different ways that the media, our school system, our legal system, all of the different groups that we're associated with identify people according to the color of their skin. And that's why one of the first things I said was, don't comment on anyone's skin color, period. Just don't do it. Unfortunately, we're in a world where people do like to be identified according to their race in certain scenarios. So when I went online to look at what some racial slurs are considered to be, the definition is that a racial slur directed at you or any person of your race which you heard or heard repeated are offensive words used to describe persons of a race, a particular color, country, or faith. So you may ask yourself, well, what kinds of words would be appropriate? What can we call people who are of a different color? Martin Luther King, in his famous speech, I see a dream or I have a dream, did refer to black people at the time. He wasn't talking about Hispanics. He wasn't talking about Asians. He was talking about people of black descent. And he said citizens of color. So oftentimes people will ask me, the NAACP is the National Association of Colored People. So why is it okay for the NAACP to have colored people in its actual title, and yet we can't call people colored, otherwise we're accused of being racist? And that's the big word out there. If someone wants to put a wall up, automatically it's done when they say bigot or they say racist. Well, the theory behind it is that anything using the word colored people today is not acceptable. The fact that the National Association of Colored People was named that back in the day when it was first originated dealt with the climate of the day and not today. So it's not appropriate to say, well, they use it in the NAACP. We are to stay away from and stay clear of using words like colored people. And here's the reason, because I didn't understand that either. I grew up in a time, right after the 60s, I had this little maiden aunt who thought she was being very kind when she used the word colored, because she didn't know to call people black. She didn't know to call people Black American because it was in the 60s and those terms just weren't in use then. So I grew up thinking it was okay until obviously I went to college and to law school and became very sensitized about these kinds of charged comments. The reason colored people is considered to be offensive by those people of African or Black descent is as follows. It implies that the only true race is white, and everything else is derived in some manner of deviating from being white. Someone doesn't color their skin. They're born that way. The example that was used on some of the research I did last night was there's a difference between a strawberry and red velvet cake. A strawberry is naturally red. Red velvet cake is colored in order to make it red. So it is changed. A person who has black coloring to the skin, whereas of Black descent, is not someone who chose to color his or her skin. They were born that way. So to call them anything other than what they truly are is considered to be a slur, and we're to stay away from that. Offensive racial speech, that is another thing to stay away from. And it is defined as a racial joke. And that is something that portrays persons of your race, color, faith, or country in a negative way, and it is illegal to do that. The fact that someone is joking does not make their conduct acceptable. Now again, we're talking about in the public realm. You folks as volunteers in a service organization. We're not talking about something that you might say to a very close friend of yours who is of ethnic difference and they still joke around with you. That's okay, you know that person knows you. But when we're talking about the important roles that you guys play in the lives of others, and you truly are the cream of the crop. You give of yourself, and everybody looks to you as leaders in the community. So as a result, you have to set a little higher example. So anything in a joke that would make you laugh, think about it before you say it. Think about if it's really funny because it's funny, or is it funny because it's talking about someone's skin color. If it's funny because it's talking about someone's skin color, then it is an offensive racial speech or joke. Not only is it prohibited, it's illegal, and it is not considered to be free speech. Unfortunately, for many folks who have done this type of an act without thinking, they've been the subject of extreme criticism and litigation, and they have learned the lesson the hard way. So we're trying to get in front of that by this message today. Racial symbols. Those are prohibited, and racial symbols are considered to be offensive, such as a noose, a Confederate flag, Ku Klux Klan hats, robes, Nazi paraphernalia, and other symbols of racist beliefs are almost always illegal in the workplace. We haven't defined what it is as a nation for service organizations such as Little League, but it would be my recommendation, and that's one of the reasons Mr. Kilmer asked me to be here today. It's my recommendation that you treat Little League as a workplace. If you do that, then you will never have a problem with anybody bringing a legitimate complaint. And in many ways, it is a workplace for these little kids. I mean, this is their job after school. It's to come and play Little League and do the best that they can and learn to be good sports. One of the things in researching this that occurred to me is it's very important, and this is kind of the ending note of all of this, and then I'll take questions. For all of us, and I say the word all of us because I'm with you, to take an honest assessment of who we are. What do we believe? How were we raised? What do we find offensive? And this is something that was said, and I want to quote it because I thought it says it all. Do not begin a sentence with words like, I'm not racist, but, because what follows never ends well, okay? So go in a room, close the door, and look in the mirror and say, okay, who am I? What's my background? Did you grow up with that little maiden aunt that I was talking about? Did you grow up in a family where it was acceptable to call people bad words because of the color of their skin? And if you did, that's okay. You can forgive yourself for that because you didn't choose to grow up that way. But you are in 2016, and it is a different day. And people are very vigilant about what they consider to be their human rights, their rights of free speech. And you know the national debate now about when does free speech cross over and prevent someone else's free speech. And those are debates that we're going to continue to hear, I suspect, all year long. So once you find out who you are and be really honest about it, it's okay. Then ask yourself, how can I fix it? Because I need to. And then just make it a check. Don't just operate as you always maybe have seen others and just joke around and think that your words don't matter. They do. And once again, I'm trying to empower all of you to understand how important you are and how this county looks up to you. You are the leaders. We entrust our kids to you for more hours than we as parents sometimes get to be with them outside of the school day. So you're important, and what you say matters. And people take a lot of inspiration from how you act and what you say. So I've tried to give you some information about what may prevent a lawsuit, but more importantly, what may make all of us together as an organization a little better and a little more sensitive about how other people feel. So does anybody have any questions about what I've talked about or anything touching on this issue? Okay. You all have a code of conduct, different rules, I think, that have been distributed before I began to speak. If you've had a chance to look at any of them, have any questions about them, please ask me. Okay, I'm finished. That was relatively painless, and thank you so much for your attention.
Let's give Laura a hand because she's spending volunteering her time coming out here on a Sunday afternoon to help our Little League coaches and managers out. While we're on the code of conduct for managers and coaches, I'm going to run through that real quick. Okay, so if everybody has that in front of them, the number one thing there is where it says managers, coaches, volunteers will lead by example and will encourage good sportsmanship by demonstrating positive support for all players, managers, coaches at every practice, game, or league event. Always place the emotional, physical, and moral well-being of your players above desires and pleasures to win. The rules of baseball and softball are very clear. Any attempt to circumvent these rules to take unfair advantage of an opponent or teach deliberate unsportsmanlike conduct has no place in coaching baseball or softball. The coach shall set the example. For example, winning done without boasting and losing done without bitterness, thus earning the respect of the players. The coach shall not permit any player to make unsportsmanlike or uncomplimentary remarks to opponents, umpires, spectators, taunting, boasting, fighting, demeaning individuals in the sport. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall treat each player as an individual, taking into consideration the wide range of emotional and physical development that may exist for players on the same team or opposing teams. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall not use profanity at any time during a game, practice, or offend the presence of any player on any team. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall treat the players, other managers and coaches, the umpires, the officials, parents, and spectators with respect. Everybody knows that managers and coaches are good for a one-year deal, okay? So the eyes are upon you to see how you act this year, whether you're going to be appointed again next year. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall not abuse equipment or facilities in an obvious display of anger. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall do their best to provide a safe playing situation for players. You shall not verbally abuse, threaten, engage in tortious physical contact with any player, coach, manager, spectator, umpire, league official, parent, or other individual under any circumstances. Any type of negative actions displayed through these aforementioned verbal and physical means shall be considered bullying tactics and will not be tolerated. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall use coaching techniques that are appropriate for the skills being taught. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall not under the influence of alcohol or other intoxicant at any time while coaching, attending a Little League event, or while otherwise representing Hedgesville Little League. Don't come to the field with alcohol on your breath, guys and gals. Don't do it, because I'm telling you, that's the first. We do get that a lot. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall be knowledgeable of the rules of baseball, softball within the divisions that they coach, and shall teach these rules to the players. Managers, coaches, volunteers shall follow the rules, regulations, and policies of Little League Baseball. You shall conduct yourselves in any manner detrimental to Hedgesville Little League through personal web postings, voice recordings, or any other type of medium that can possibly be viewed by the public sector. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit. When you, like Laura said, when you're text messaging to another parent, only do date, time, practice, and stuff like that. If somebody wants to complain about playing time or complain about this, complain about that, the managers need to set up a meeting with two managers, a manager and a coach there with a parent. Okay? Don't be going on arguing text messaging for 2 or 3 days about it. Meet with them and do it with another person with you. Times have changed. Don't do it. Also, everybody saw the Facebook page last year when Jefferson County Little League All-Star Team gave the finger, I think, and it got on Facebook and this and that, and we don't want that to happen. So everybody knows cameras are out there, cell phones are out there, and you're going to be recorded on anything you guys do. Just use a little common sense, I would say. Okay, and there's also penalties, I guess, if something would happen. You can read the ejection. You may be ejected from a game by either an umpire that is officiating the game, or a Hedgesville Little League board member can eject you from the field also. A violator may be ejected from a Hedgesville Little League practice, activity, or event by a Hedgesville Little League board member. A person that is ejected from the game, practice, activity, or event must leave immediately without further incident, or be subject to further disciplinary action by the board or removal by the police if necessary. The Hedgesville Little League board will determine whether further disciplinary action is warranted. This may include suspension from the Hedgesville Little League. Or the board would meet and put you on probation, or we could suspend you for a game or 2 or 3. We could dismiss you, or basically, if it's really bad, you could be barred from the Little League for forever how long. So what I need you all to do is, I understand that managers and coaches shall not, in the performance of their duties by words or conduct, manifest prejudice or bias based upon race, sex, religion, age, disability, national origin, or sexual orientation. Go ahead and print your full name on that, and since we don't have scissors, just kind of fold it a little bit and cut it. If you want to slide, I need the bottom section. You guys can keep the papers, but I need the bottom section to slide them to the inside of the table here, and Bent and Rubenthal will come down and pick them up for you, okay? Any questions on the code of conduct for managers and coaches? Okay. Now, our next presenter is Pivot Physical Therapy. These guys and gals are, we partnered with them this year, and they are really helpful to the league, and they're going to give a little speech on physical therapy. How's that? Or whatever. Here we go.
Thank you guys very much. At the end of the tables, we put some TheraBand or TheraTube. If you guys could take one and pass them down, if we have extras, just keep them at the end, or pass them to people who might not have gotten one. Nevin said you guys would want to do an interactive portion. So, also, where's Coach Ford? Is Coach Ford in here? Coach Ford, can you shut the lights off, please? Okay, so my name is Megan Little. I'm the athletic trainer here at Hedgesville. Some of you guys might know me.
And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Matthew Taylor. I'm a physical therapist over in Shepherdstown, West Virginia.
Okay, so this might be hard for some of you guys in the back to see, so we're going to do our best to not talk off the slides, and hopefully you guys can follow along. Okay, so the point of this talk essentially is threefold. One, we're going to talk about dynamic warm-up and exercises that we feel would be appropriate for you guys to incorporate in your warm-up program, so that way we can reduce injury. Second, we're going to focus a little bit on pitch count and the change of some of the rules that in the pitch count guidelines for this year. And then third, we're going to talk about concussions. First, Matt's going to go over dynamic warm-up.
Okay, so the importance of a dynamic warm-up. First of all, what is a dynamic warm-up? Dynamic warm-up is a series of exercises which are designed to increase heart rate, body temperature, flexibility, strength, and all this is done through exercises that take your body through its available ranges of motion. And I believe I hit most of this first slide here. So, the dynamic warm-up should require focus, and it should challenge the athlete mentally and physically to get ready for exercise. So you need to make sure that it is challenging to the individual who is going to be partaking in the sports activity. And if it's not challenging enough, and if it doesn't fit the related exercise you're going to be doing, so for example, if you're doing swim-related exercises that you're warming up to go play baseball, the athlete's thinking, why are we doing this? They're not going to really participate, they're not going to buy in. If you don't have buy-in, what's the point of doing the dynamic warm-up? And the goal physically of the dynamic warm-up is to lengthen and strengthen muscles. You're going to take your arms, your legs, your back, your hips, elbows, wrists, neck, everything through your full available range of motion. And the dynamic warm-up should include exercises that are going to use your main muscle groups that are included. So for baseball, you're going to want to warm up your legs, you're going to want to warm up your arms, your hips, your back, everything that's included in the throwing motion and in your hitting motion in field. And very important is that the dynamic warm-up should be something that your age group is going to be able to do. If you have a 6-year-old You might not want them doing bridges, planks, push-ups, things along those lines, whereas a 14-year-old should be able to do these with relative ease, with the correct form. And again, the dynamic warm-up needs to be planned to coincide with whatever it is you're trying to do that day. If you're working with your pitchers on, say, Monday, for example, you really want to work on your rotator cuff muscles, you're going to want to work on the shoulder mobility, you're going to work on back, you're going to want to work on the hips, because the follow-through is very important. If you're not bending, the pitch is going to sail, all the important things that you guys know. Again, it should target the muscles and the groups that are going to be used most in your exercise that day. And again, you should want to have stretching at the end of the exercise. You need to target, if anyone has tight hamstrings, if anyone has tight quads, calves, anything along those lines, at the end of your exercise, at the end of practice that day, you need to have a cool down period which consists of static stretching. So, components of the dynamic warm-up. The first thing that's usually included is a couple minutes worth of stretching and flexibility. This is done actively, it's moving. You're not standing still and bending down and touching your toes and holding that for 30 seconds. This is an active movement, usually consisting of things like butt kicks, high knees, things along those lines. And we're going to get into some of those exercises in the very next slide, so just hang with me. Some cardiovascular activity should be included next. Those are things along like jumping jacks. You're going to increase your heart rate, you're going to warm up the body a little more, warm up the muscles, get everything nice and loose for competition. You've got some balance exercises. Those should include coordination drills, stability drills, all things that are going to be important later with swinging, running, throwing, etc. Some strengthening exercises and plyometric drills. Those are running and jumping related. And plyometrics themselves, most of you guys will think of those as box jumps. So they should be avoided in people under 10 years of age. And then technique exercises. Those include more throwing drills, hitting drills, fielding drills, more sport-specific things at that point. So, some specific exercises. For our stretching, we have calf, quadricep, hamstring stretching. All of those are done with movement. We will demonstrate those in the next slide. Some warm-ups, forward, backward jogs, side shuffles, high knees, butt kickers, things along those lines. Some balance drills, standing on one leg, maybe standing on one leg and throwing a ball back and forth. All those are geared to increase neuromuscular facilitation of your hips, your knees, your core. Strengthening exercises, hips, push-ups, planks, sit-ups, curl-ups, those types of things. Plyometrics, jump rope works really well. It's a great way to warm up and increase your cardiovascular output. And then technique-related drills, working on squats, those types of things. So here's where we want you guys to participate with us. I'm going to put the mic down and try and speak really loud at this point, okay?
Does everybody have a band or a tube? Does anybody need any? Okay.
Can we get everyone to stand up, please? Ideally, if you have the space and you're out on the ball field, we got knee hugs here for stretching. All that consists of is taking a step forward, bringing your knee up toward the chest, pulling it a little extra. You should feel a stretch kind of down in your hamstrings, maybe even in your body. Doing that walking forward. So, up.
Go ahead and try that.
Go ahead and try that. Ideally, you can do this for about 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a minute at a time per exercise. Get things warmed up. We got your side lunges. Everyone should know what those are. Lunging out.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Some of the verbal cues for the side lunge, if you guys decided to incorporate this in your workout, is you want to make sure that their knee doesn't go out in front of their toe. Make sure you keep it nice in line and that they hold the stretch, they're not just kind of flying through it. So things to think about if you decide to put this in your practice routine.
As far as this little bullet here for active and cardio, where it says windmill, that's just your arm circles. Start off small arm circles forward, small arm circles backwards. Do about 10, 15 of these each direction, then grab to make it bigger. Go slow, just kind of speeding through it.
We have told them.
Keep it slow, keep it easy, and then again, progressively making those circles bigger to where you're kind of going through the full throwing motion with your arm. You can also go side to side, and put together this would be your base. So, very important. Now, I'm not doing these on the table, I'm going to demonstrate the cross here.
Jumping jacks out and like cross jacks and stick things up in front. So these would be good for your fingers or for anybody who might have shoulder issues, tight shoulders. It's really good to check out the rotator cuff tendons if it's something big across the body like this.
We've got our TheraBand eyes, T's, and Y's, and all you're going to do, one hand on top of the other, make your eye straight out front of you. Left hand up, right hand down. Then come back in the center.
These are exercises that my baseball players, especially my pitchers here at the high school, do on a regular basis to prevent any kind of rotator cuff issue.
Now, if you switch, that way you can do both sides.
They do about 15 reps on each side.
Next, we got our T's. We're going to hold your arms straight out front of you. Elbows are straight. Coming across the body. The back in front of you. You really want to also exercise squeeze your shoulder blades together at the back once your arms are and again, 15 to 20 of these. We got our wide. So with your right hand up, left hand will be down, out in front of you, kind of at an angle. You're pulling apart at an angle. 15 of these each way. Now switch. Left hand will be up, right hand will be down.
All right, you guys can go ahead and have a seat now. Thank you for participating. All right, so the next section is on pitch count, and I feel as though you guys are very well versed in pitch count, but this is something that we're going to go over. Obviously, you guys know pitch count varies based on age. The new recommendations say 7 to 8 years old, 50 pitches a day, 9 to 10, 75 pitches a day, 11 to 12, 85, 13 to 16, 95, and in case you were wondering, 17 to 18, 105, although obviously you guys don't deal with that. One of the rules that has changed for the longest time it was a recommendation, now it has become a set in stone rule, is a pitcher who delivers 41 pitches or more in a game can go to any position except catching. That was a recommendation for the longest time, now it's a set in stone rule. So why do pitch counts matter? What's the importance? Obviously, we think of elbow injuries, that becomes a big thing. Shoulder injuries, but also just basic breakdown overall. What a lot of the times is overlooked is how the core musculature can get broken down based on the number of pitches that is thrown. Just like any other muscle in the body, the core muscle gets torn and gets damaged with overuse. Well, it is a greatly used muscle in pitching, your abdominals, that isn't necessarily strengthened very well, which is why we added things such as the planks and whatnot into the warm-up, so it can become more of an area of focus. So that the low back injuries, the hernias, although it doesn't happen very often, most of the low back injuries is one of the things that we in the National Federation is trying to eliminate by monitoring pitch count. It's not just the shoulders, it's not just the elbows, it's kind of the body as a whole, and making sure that these kids stay healthy as a whole, not just their arm. Lots of times kids will say, oh, I need to ice my shoulder, I need to ice my shoulder. Okay, well, how's your back feel? This little, my back's been bothering me too. Well, the head bone's connected to the toe bone at some point. It's all a kinetic chain. So it's important that we look at the full body and realize that these kids are putting a lot of stress on lots of different parts of their body. So again, these are just innings pitched recommendations and days of rest, but I'm sure you guys all know that and have gone over it quite a few times. So now we're going to move on to concussions. And concussions is like the dirty C word. She said it, no. Believe it or not, concussions in baseball and softball do happen. At Hedgesville High School last year, we had 26 concussions total for the whole year, 5 of which occurred in baseball and softball. So a fifth of them essentially occurred in baseball and softball. It is something that needs to be talked about. It is something that we need to be reminded of. I know that at the high school level, coaches all have to take a concussion awareness course. I believe you guys do as well. I'm not sure exactly what the rule is on that. So what is a concussion? A concussion is a traumatic brain injury that occurs from either a single blunt force or multiple blunt forces to the head. Signs and symptoms of a concussion: headache, nausea, vomiting, balance issues, difficulty remembering, things such as that. What they're finding more and more is that concussions, especially in kids under the age of 12, won't have symptom onset for up to 24 hours. So a kid could get hit in the head in the second inning, could play the rest of the game, act completely normal, and then the next day all of a sudden start showing concussion symptoms. So this is where coaches, parents, managers really come into play, because you know the kids better than any ER doctor does. So if you see a hit occur, it really becomes your responsibility to question the kid and evaluate the kid, because although he might not have a headache, something else might be noticeably different, and that's where you guys come in and where you really need to take the time to figure things out. So it says sudden movements can cause the brain to bounce around the skull, so it's not necessarily you get hit in the head. Lots of times in car accidents, it's a whiplash type injury where your head didn't hit anything, your brain just hit your skull, and that caused a concussion. It's the same thing in sports. It happens more often than you'd think. So those are things to be mindful of too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a blunt force trauma. So what do you do? So, for instance, at Hedgesville, last week we had a kid who went to take a ground ball and it bounced off the tip of his glove and it cracked him in the eye, split his eye, concussion blood. And I was at the softball field, so I get a phone call from my one coach who cannot stand blood whatsoever, and he's almost like screaming, "You need to get here, you need to get here. I think this kid's dying." So I rush over and it's just a lacerated eyelid, it's all right. That's his role. When something goes wrong, he is to get as far away as possible and just call me, because he is not the stay calm type, and he knows that. So we have a good working relationship. So remain calm. If you can't stay calm, get away from the kid. Obviously, if they see you freaking out, they're gonna freak out, just like anything else. Pull him or her out of the situation. It's better to be safe than sorry. If you think he or she has an issue, it's better to pull him out for a little bit, check him, then we can talk about re-entering or whatever the case may be. Inform the parents. So the attorney was up here talking about liability and what to do and how to not get yourself in trouble. Inform people, let people know, tell people what happened. You don't want something to come back on you because you forgot to tell somebody of the situation. Monitor symptoms, like I said, in all those packets that were handed out, there's concussion information in there. So if you're not exactly sure if it could be or couldn't be, carry that little card on your coach's clipboard. That way, you'll know what's common and what's not common. Encourage rest, and then obviously have them follow up with a doctor, athletic trainer, school nurse, whatever the case may be. It's important that you make them go see somebody. They have to see somebody, so the liability is not on you as the coach. So what don't you do? You encourage them to not use their cell phones, to not watch TV, to not do anything like that. Take them out of the sunlight. Obviously, come June, your games are going to be hot and bright and everything else. Put them in the back corner of the dugout. Keep them out of the light. Keep them off the fence where the sun's going to shine in their eyes. Don't allow them to take any medicine. Don't allow their parents to give them any medicine, especially any anti-inflammatory. So a concussion is a bruise on your brain, which means there's active bleeding. Anti-inflammatories are blood thinners that can make that bleeding worse. And then don't allow them to participate in any activity, obviously. So typically a doctor would pick up on this, but in case a doctor hasn't, as a coach, it's important for you guys to know what's considered normal and what's considered not normal, but also as parents too. So a normal length of a concussion is somewhere between less than 24 hours. The symptoms are supposed to last somewhere between less than 24 hours and about 14 days. Obviously, every concussion presents differently and whatnot. This is why you need to get doctors involved. But just kind of a good rule of thumb, about 2 weeks. If things haven't cleared up, then we're talking about something more serious here. So after about 2 weeks, we start looking at what's called post-concussion syndrome. So that's where the symptoms have, for whatever reason, be it something internal or something external, the symptoms have been prolonged. So what do? Well, obviously you go back to the doctor, first of all. But there's actually programs, concussion rehab programs. Pivot is the only one in the area that offers concussion rehab programs to decrease things like headache, neck pain, dizziness, balance issues, memory issues, sensitivity to light noise. But I just told you guys not to do any activity. Now I'm telling you to go to physical therapy. This is why we need to have multiple professionals involved to make these decisions. The physical therapists that run these programs are highly educated. They're trained on what is okay, what is too much, blah, blah, blah. And the physicians are aware of this. So as long as you guys have that open communication with your doctors and with whoever, then that becomes most important. Okay, so these are some resources that we have. We can send the Little League the slides so they can post some stuff online, from the CDC and play it safe and whatnot. And also, we would like to announce that Pivot is having a coaches conference that all of the high school coaches are going to be encouraged to go to. And we also ask that you guys come. It's going to be in June 11th. It's at Spring Mills, and it's going to cover a vast variety of topics. It's going to talk a little bit about concussions. It's going to talk about low back injuries. It's going to talk about a bunch of different stuff from doctors and physical therapists and whatnot in the area, and also from Baltimore and things like that. I believe it is free of charge. Yes, it is free of charge, and it's 4 hours. You guys can read that. The keynote speaker is going to be the head football coach from Shepherd. So it's going to be an educational, good experience, and we encourage you guys to come out and take part in it. Hold on a second.
So the concussion cards, the small cards that you all have, if you guys want more of those, if you do end up, I don't know that you'll have to put concussions, but if you want me to, Nevin, give you more of those, if you feel like you need some to give parents, if that ever happens, I'm happy to get those to Nevin so that you can have some to hand out to parents if that ever came up.
Either let Nevin know or let myself know. I have a ton of them here at the school. So, do you guys have any questions for either one of us? Nothing? Yeah. Yes. Chris, did you then just sign up for the?
No. So if I did receive some of the emails, you didn't give me your email. We were planning on emailing everyone who's interested an invitation, which will be coming out in about 4 weeks. So if you did not give me your email, then you would need to put it on the front. If you did, then I already have it.
Okay, I don't know if you guys could hear her. What she was saying is she is going to be emailing out an invitation in the next 4 weeks. And is there an RSVP associated with that?
I don't know.
Okay, we're not sure yet. Is there anything else? Well, thank you guys very much for having us.
Jim Diener is the umpire guru for Hedgesville Little League for the past 30 years. Jim's going to talk about some umpiring and some rule changes. Not very many rule changes, I don't think, this year. But anyway, Jim's the umpire guy. If you got any umpire questions during the season, stuff happens during the season that you're not sure about, Jim's the man to go to with that, okay? So, Jim Diener.
Thank you all for coming. Benton passed out a cheat sheet, and I'm going to work right off of this cheat sheet. It's a lot of baseball myths that you guys have heard all your lives, and you all know is fact. It's not fact at all. The first thing you want to know is these are the rules we're playing by. These are the rule books. What happens in the NCAA doesn't matter to us. What happens in high school baseball does not matter to us. We're using these rule books, all right? And everything is in here. I found out, I'm also a basketball official, and I found out this year that I'm a rules guy. I go by the rules. Well, you know, I guess that's better than being make up the rules as you go guy. So it's all in here. Let me give you my email address. So if there are any questions you don't want to ask today, you can send me an email. I've got a list of about 50 guys that we email all year long about situations that happened in Jefferson County or Petersburg that come up. So my email address is jdiener, DEANER, @myactv.net. So if anything does come up, give me an email and we'll work on it. And I will work on it through the rule book. I hate to give you my opinion. And as Nevin said, I'm always on the baseball field, and if I'm over doing a junior league game and you run over and ask me a question of what happened on the little league field, I'll be forced to give you my opinion. It might be right, it might be wrong. But when you're volunteering, as you all are, and you get to volunteer umpiring as part of your coaching duties, thank you. That's how I was moved in here about 30 years ago, as Nevin said. You're going to make mistakes, but you're going to have to go with your judgment, and you're going to have to make the call that you see. When you're calling balls and strikes, you're going to have to call the balls and strikes. Now the plate's 17 inches wide. Baseball's 2 3/4 inches wide. Don't know how big a softball is. But when the kid's pitching, if any part of that ball goes across any part of that plate, between the armpits and the knees, that is the strike zone. It should be called a strike, all right? It's your judgment. You're behind the plate. Believe it or not, Grandma can't call balls and strikes for you. She will. The coach cannot see the strike zone from the dugout. He'll help you. No doubt about it. He will tell you you're wrong. Very seldom is he going to tell you you're right. But you're going to have to call what you see. As the baseball myths I passed out, you know, if a pitched ball hits the kid's hands, the kid has been struck by a pitched ball, he gets a base. The hands are not part of the bat, all right? And I know you guys all know that because you've been taught that since you were little kids playing baseball. Well, your hands aren't part of the bat. They never were, they never will be. You guys, let me go through these one at a time. This is not my clinic, by the way. This is your clinic, so if you have a question, wave at me, and we'll go through it. There aren't any rule changes in the book this year. This is the first year that I remember that there are none. 0 rule changes. Before you buy that new bat, however, for your T-ball or for your kid in Little League, in 2018, everybody's going to be eligible to use a 2 5/8 inch bat. 2018, we're going to 2 5/8 inch bats. And your kid might not be able to swing a 2 5/8 inch bat. It might be better for him to swing a 2 1/4 that they're using now, but he's going to want a 2 5/8 inch bat. So you can go out and pay $300 for a 2 1/4 this year. He's going to want a 2 5/8 inch. 2018, not next year, 2018, all right? Any questions? Hit me with questions. Anything happened last year that you guys want to talk about? The big thing is when you're... One interruption.
Carissa from Pivot Physical Therapy wants to tell you guys one more thing and she has to leave. Carissa, one more thing.
So I just wanted to let you guys know that we have a clinic in Hedgesville, but also in Spring Mills. And for all the families and the players associated with Hedgesville Little League, if you have a player that gets injured, we have a complimentary injury screening. So all you have to do is call our clinic, and our physical therapist will take the time to make an appointment to get your player in to see the PT, and they'll just do a screening on them to say, oh, you just need to ice it, or you need to go see the doctor, or you should go see an orthopedic. But they'll do that screening for free within 24 hours, yeah. Or within 24 hours they'll get them in. But just so you know, so a lot of families may need that resource if they aren't able to go see the doctor right away. They can just call us, make an appointment, and get them in, okay? And we also sell the TheraBands at our clinics if you're interested in getting them. So Megan's a resource for that.
Before we leave the concussion thing, our standard is that if a concussion is suspected, he must be reviewed by a healthcare professional. The coach can't decide he's fine, he's going to play, or she's fine. Daddy can't decide she's fine. Our standard is it has to be reviewed by a healthcare professional, and then they have to come back with written permission. Is that correct, Mr. Gilman? Written permission from that healthcare professional. Not nurse mom or Dr. Dad. It's the healthcare professional. So a suspected concussion, and as the physical therapists were telling us, you as the coach, pull the kid out of there. It ain't worth it. Our biggest standard for Little League is the safety and well-being of the child, not to win the stupid ball game, all right? Not worrying about the ball game. Worry about the kid. We're here as educators. We're here to help our kids learn to play baseball or softball. And they're here to learn to play baseball or softball to have fun. Don't forget the fun part of this thing. I know you're all going to go nuts and you're going to want to win the championship of the world. relax, let the kids play, let the kids have fun. That's why we're here. We're giving them an opportunity to play and have fun. And the same thing as the umpire. Unfortunately, I still do this because I have fun doing it. Some days it's better than others, and some days I have more fun than others. But Grandma has her opinion, and the coach has their opinion, and I have my opinion. But I'm still having fun. I don't have a whole lot of fun when I'm ejecting a coach. I do that, and I have had the opportunity to call the third strike on my sons too. Hey, Mommy wasn't very happy about that. All the lines on the baseball field are fair lines. They're not foul lines. If the ball hits that line, it is fair. In the batter's box, if the kid's foot is touching that line, he's inside the batter's box. Right? All our lines are fair lines. You know, we always call them foul lines, but they're not foul lines. They're all fair lines. Right? That's very important to remember. When you're umpiring the game, you're calling the line. If you think it hit the fair line, it hit the fair line. You call, even if the ball goes through center field and you call foul, that is it. The play is over. It's a foul ball. And I've seen some idiots do it. As a matter of fact, I was one of them. You know, the kid swung the bat, the ball disappeared. I couldn't find it. All my partners were standing around doing nothing, so I called a foul. Pitcher caught the line drive, threw the kid out to second. But it was a foul ball because some idiot called it a foul ball, and that was me. Nobody was very happy with Jimmy that day. Not even me. The batter ball hits the plate, it's fair, all right? The plate is in fair territory. All that little white part, from the point of that plate all the way out to the pole, all the way out at the end of the fence, that's all in fair territory. So if the ball lands on home plate, it's a fair ball. If the pitcher throws the ball and it bounces in front of home plate and the kid hits a home run with it, it's still a home run, all right? He can still hit a ball that bounces into it. If the ball bounces into the batter and hits the batter, he is still hit by pitch. All right? The pitch ends when it gets to the catcher. All right? That's all in here, and it's all documented by the rule. You can look up in the rule book. I'm not making this crap up. I know. Sounds like I am, but I'm not. The batter's allowed to switch boxes as long as he doesn't interfere with the pitcher on the mound ready to pitch. So if she's up, wants to bat right-handed, the pitch comes in, it's a strike. She wants to go and bat left-handed, she can do that as long as the pitcher's not ready to pitch. As soon as the pitcher's ready to pitch, she's stuck in that, he or she is stuck in that batter's box. Any runner advancing to first base can overrun first base. They can overrun first base and turn around towards second and walk back to first base. They haven't attempted to advance to second. They can turn inside, they can turn outside. As long as they return immediately to the base, they're not attempting to advance to second. You will know when they're attempting to advance to second. And you, as that umpire, normally the base umpire will make that call. Don't let the coach tell you she turned inside, she's gone to second. It's your judgment. Unfortunately, when you get to be an umpire, your judgment counts for everything. And you'll sleep all right that night, even if you call your son's third strike. In Little League majors and above, and softball and baseball, a batter is allowed to advance on a drop third strike. They can advance any time on that drop third strike until they enter dead ball area. So if they walk toward the dugout, they can still advance to first until they enter their dugout. all right? On the drop third strike, they may advance. It's not an uncaught, it's an uncaught third strike. Therefore, if the ball bounces in front of the plate, and the catcher catches it, the batter swings at it, it's still an uncaught third strike because the ball bounced first, all right? So even though the batter swung at it, it's still an uncaught third strike. If that ball hits the ground anywhere between the pitcher and the catcher, it's an uncaught third strike. Runner can advance, should be allowed to advance. In baseball only, on a bunt, if the batter squares around to bunt, he has to move the bat toward the ball, make contact with the ball. If he doesn't move the bat toward the ball, it's still a ball. Ball's thrown over the kid's head, and he holds the bat out here. Can't do both. And he holds the bat out here. It's not a strike unless he moves the bat to strike that ball. However, in softball, if they hold it out there, it's a strike. I don't write this crap, all right? But that's the only major difference between the softball book and the baseball book. And yes, I think they ought to do it both the same somewhere along the line. Last year, I got an email from one of my peers out here umpiring a game, and he wanted to know if in softball, if the pitchers could wear the little pamphlets on their arm where they can call the plays in. That's illegal, all right? Because and it's beautiful. Let me find this email. It's perfect. Are pitchers in softball allowed to wear those new playing wristbands like they do at the college level? This is the question. Because the rule book says no wristbands or jewelry. All right? If the rule book says they can't wear it, they can't wear it. However, they do it at the college level. Okay, that's nice. None of our kids are allowed to wear any jewelry other than medical alert bracelets or necklaces. If they wear a medical alert bracelet or necklace, it's got to be taped onto their arm or neck, all right? It can't be taped with duct tape. It's got to be visible, all right? Doesn't matter whether they're wearing a string around their wrist or a rubber band around their wrist, or they just got their ears pierced, and you're going to hear it. I've heard it. They can't participate with that jewelry on. They can't participate in practice with that jewelry on. If you allow your kids to wear that jewelry on the field, somebody gets hurt, as Mrs. Faircloth told us earlier, we're going to be fined negligent for that, all right? When I'm doing the games, I won't let them wear that stuff because it ain't worth my house, all right? If we choose to not enforce all the rules, I believe we're choosing to be negligent to any of the rules. So we got to do the best for our kids. That means they can't practice with this stuff on. And you know what? They do in college. They do at the major league level. Everybody else is doing it. I would be willing to bet that they're doing it at the high school level. Illegal there too. But I've seen it for the last 30 years. You guys are letting all your kids practice in what they want to practice in. Yes, sir. Sunglasses. Two years ago, I believe, sunglasses are now legal as long as they're worn on their face. As soon as they put them on their hats, they're now a decoration. They have to come off. It does not have to be safety glasses. That rule was changed 2 years ago. One time they weren't allowed to wear them at all. And now they can wear them. They can wear them because of Little League World Series. One of the major sponsors is Sunglass People, and since they're sponsoring Little League at the national level with a lot of dollars that it's now legal. We're all doing this for the safety and fun of the kids, right? Okay, I've lost my place. Somebody come up with a question. Guys, I'm bored you to death. You don't want to sit there any longer. What happened to you last year? When you're calling balls and strikes, your chin should be level with the catcher's helmet, which is easy for me if I'm on the junior league field. It's not so easy for me when I'm on the minor league field. But your best view of the plate will be if your chin is roughly at his helmet size. All right? When you're calling strikes, the first thing you should do is come up and say strike. All right? If you're calling a ball, you should stay down and sort of whisper ball. All right? At the tournament in Petersburg last year, I believe it was state tournament, we had a guy calling balls like this. Nobody had a clue what the heck he was calling. So there's no signal for a ball. A ball is a ball. A strike is a strike. An out is an out. A safe is a safe. When you make your calls, especially outs and strikes, you got to let Grandma hear you back up there because she wants to know what the heck's going on. So don't whisper that stuff. Let everybody know what's going on the ball field. You as an umpire have that responsibility to let everybody know that you called that a strike or a ball or an out. A ball's whisper, sorry. Kid hits a home run, ball's dead. You know, the players can all slap him five when he goes by. The coach is not assisting him if he gives him a high five when he goes by. Your job as an umpire is to make sure that kid touches the plate. I always tell the kiddies to hang on till he gets there. When he jumps on there, you know, I'll jump up and down, go crazy, and do what everybody does for a home run. After a home run is hit, the umpire must put the ball back in play. So as an umpire, you get the ball, give it to the pitcher, get the pitcher on the mound, on the rubber, and say, play ball. Nothing can happen until you guys put the ball back in play. Pet peeve of mine for the last 30 years, I've been working all these tournaments all over the country, and half the guys don't put the ball back in play. Don't put the ball back in play. Nobody can hit it. Nobody can get out, right? Get in the habit of putting the ball back in play. And you, the plate umpire, puts it back in play by making sure the pitcher has the ball on the mound, on the rubber, say play ball. The old hidden ball trick that Disney made famous doesn't work because you can't put the ball back in play unless the pitcher has the ball on the mound. So you can't get the kid out. If you say play ball and the pitcher doesn't have the ball on the mound, then that's called a balk on in the junior and senior little league or junior and senior league if there's runners on base. But you can't put the ball back in play until the pitcher has the ball on the mound, the batter's in the batter's box. No questions? You're making it tough on me, guys. Home run, team comes out of the dugout to celebrate. The ball's dead. The ball's out of the field of play. The ball is dead. The kids can come out of the dugout to celebrate the home run. Just make sure the batter runner touches the plate first, all right? And if the kid takes his helmet off and waves it over his head, it's okay. The ball's dead, all right? Once the ball leaves the field of play, the ball is dead. So we can't kick the kid out because he took his helmet off. We can tell him not to do it again. But we can't eject the kid for doing something to celebrate his home run. We're playing for fun. Don't forget that part. Anytime a coach touches, I'm all the way down to 18 now. anytime a coach touches a runner, the runner's out? No. Coach is out for assisting a runner, all right? If he's pushing him toward home plate, he's assisting the runner. If he drags him back toward third base, he's assisting the runner. If the kid falls down, he picks him up and is assisting the runner. As I said, when he goes by and gives him a high five for hitting a home run or slaps him on the butt for stealing third, it's okay. Here's a good one. Question on obstruction. Batter in the box, runner from third attempting to score. Is the batter automatically out? The batter may be called out if in the judgment of the umpire he obstructed the runner. If there's 2 outs, the batter is called out. If there's less than 2 outs, the player from third may be called out and the batter may be called out if in the judgment of the umpire he obstructed. Normally, and I keep using the judgment word because it's true, the batter is not protected in the batter's box. However, he should be in the batter's box. If he intentionally obstructs or impedes the catcher in any way from making that play, your judgment should be to call him out for obstructing that play, all right? If the catcher catches the ball and throws it down to third base and hits the batter, and the batter didn't intentionally instruct him, then the batter should not be called out, all right? Your judgment has to decide whether that batter impeded or obstructed the catcher or any other player from making the play. How clear is that, huh? The batter has no obligation to clear that box. But he can't intentionally obstruct the catcher or any other player from making a play. Okay? Now, as I said before, how clear is that? It's the umpire's judgment. If you know darn well he obstructed it, call him out. If you're not sure he obstructed it, make your decision, guys. It's possible it could be a double play. Could be, in your judgment. With 2 outs, you call the batter out. With less than 2 outs, and well, I guess I'm assuming the kid's swinging at the ball, so it could be strike 3 and the guy coming in, so that would make a double play. Back to the batter in the box. If the batter in the box, if he's hit by a pitch, it's a ball. If he's hit by a pitch while he's swinging the bat, it's a strike, but it's a dead ball strike. So it's a strike on him, but nobody can advance on that one. All right? Got that? Confusion? Pitch comes in, batter swings at the ball, and the ball hits him while he's swinging at the ball. It's a strike. Because he's swinging at the ball, he's attempting to strike the ball, but it's a dead ball strike. The ball's dead because it hit him. So if it hits him and bounces away, the guy from second base can't steal third base, the guy from first base can't steal second base. It is a strike because he was attempting to hit that ball. Okay? Good. Conversation good. The fielder always has the first opportunity to field the ball. Any batter interfering with that opportunity, the batter should be called out for interference. In your opinion. If he's screaming at him when he goes by, he's interfered with he doesn't have to run in front of the ball, doesn't have to run in front of the back of the ball. If you believe in your judgment he interfered with that player making a play on that ball, catching that ball, and you call him out, it's dead ball, everybody else returns to the base that they occupied at the time of pitch. Too fast? Got that? A lot of times our guys and girls, they're clapping their hands and running back in front of the second baseman when they're trying to draw a throw from the pitcher or trying to annoy everybody. I always tell them to knock it off because it could be called interference on the offense if he doesn't knock it off. And I have had the opportunity to make that call one time because unfortunately I told him to knock it off a couple times and he ignored me, so I wasn't lying to him. It was interference. He was called out. Coach went crazy. Kid went crazy. I did all right. On an infield fly, less than 2 outs, runner on first and second. And if any infielder can catch it with normal effort, we should be calling it infield fly. Now, normal effort is normal effort for Little League kids, Junior League kids, Senior League kids. If he catches it if the shortstop catches the ball in the outfield, it could still be an infield fly. On an infield fly, the batter is out. The runners may advance at their own risk. So, if he drops it, the batter's still out. But the runners may advance. They don't have to tag up because the guy didn't catch the ball, all right? But any infielder with normal effort can catch it other than a line drive or a bunt. Okay? Is that clear enough? Devin told me not to spend a half hour on infield fly. Less than 2 outs, runners on first and second. At least runners on first, second, and third. Still an infield fly. If a fielder holds a fly ball for 2 seconds, it's a catch? Not necessarily. One more time, you have to use your judgment on whether the player released the ball intentionally. If I appear to have made a catch and run into Josh over there and fall down, I didn't make the catch. I didn't release the ball intentionally if the ball drops at that point. Any runner is allowed to advance from the time that I touched the ball. Even if I didn't catch it, if I touched the ball and it bounced, any runner can advance at that point. It doesn't matter when I made the catch. If I touched the ball and then I ran 2 feet and caught it up in the air, the runners would still lead at the time I first touched that ball. That clear? That was easy. Here's a great one. You must tag the base with your foot for a force out. You can touch the ball bag with any part of your body, all right? If you catch the ball here with this hand, I can still touch first base with my hand, touch it with my foot. I can roll over it. As long as I have possession of that ball, I can touch the bat or the plate with base with any part of my body. However, on a tag play, if the runner's going by and I tag him with this hand and have the ball in my right hand, it doesn't count. You know, I got to tag him with the ball in the glove or the ball in my bare hand in the hand. If I kick the runner, it doesn't count as a tag. High school, on a bulk play for junior, senior league, it's a dead ball. It's immediate dead ball. Nothing can happen on a bulk in high school. For our rule set, it is a delayed dead ball. All right. So as long as the batter and runners advance 1 base, then we don't even worry about the bulk anymore. But still, as you're umpiring, you call the bulk and you stay down to watch the pitch come in. It could be a bulk ball, it could be a bulk strike, all right? But it's a delayed dead ball for us. In high school, it's different. In college, it's different. In MLB, it's different. We got to play by our rule set. My job in printing this is not to make you umpires and teach you everything. My job in printing this is to get you to get in this in your rule books, and if you don't have one, Nevin will surely get you one. But every team should have a rule book, and my job is to get you guys into this rule book as quickly as possible. Speaking of quickly as possible, Mr. Kilmer's coming up here to tell me I'm done now. Questions? Pardon me? No, a ball still applies for us. In high school, it's a delayed dead ball. For us, it's a delayed dead ball. In high school, it's a dead ball. Balks are still called in Major League with a runner on base. If there's no runner on base, it could be a no pitch or it could be a ball. All right, got to be a runner on base for an illegal pitch. Thank you. Get in the rule book. If you have any questions, then you will send me an email.
Okay. Our next presenter is going to be Sarah Myers, our concession stand manager, and she does not want to come up and talk, but she's got about 3 minutes to tell you some stuff.
Just a couple things real quick. Just remember we need 2 people on the concession stand at all times from each team. One of them has to be 18 because 18-year-olds are the only ones who are allowed to work the grill. The other ones have to be 16 years old. We've had some trouble in the past with 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds coming in there. The board voted this year and it is 16 years old. We're asking that if you can possibly, if you're scheduled to be in there at 5:30, please try to be there at 5. I know it's hard after work to try to get in there, but that way we can make sure that the concession stand is ready right when the games are starting. You can split up the times if you have, half 2 people want to work half the game and somebody else wants to work half the game. It doesn't matter as long as your whole game is covered. We're going to have a team mom meeting April the 6th. T-ball and minor league will be at 6 o'clock. Little league will be at 6:30, and softball will be at 7 o'clock. We're going to do that in the office above the concession stand. So please try to have your team moms there. I'm going to try to have a list of kids who are 16 who are willing to work. Typically, like last year, pay them $20 and they'll work your 2 hours for you. And I'm going to actually give them out the list to the team moms this year so that I don't have to keep up with all of it. You've got the team moms can take care of it. And just remember, there's always a board member on duty, so if there's any problems whatsoever, contact that person. I think that's it.
Okay, let's give Sarah a hand. She spent all week at Sam's getting stuff for the concession stand, so she does a good job. Eric Gates is the chief umpire for Major League Division. He's just got like 1 or 2 minutes for our Major League guys on the baseball field. He'll be assigning those umpires, and he's got just a couple things to say to you.
I think the rules stay the same. Sarah told me, everybody, if you want to be considered for manager and coach next year, because it is one year renewable, you're going to have to do 6 games, as well as if you want to participate as a manager or coach in the All-Star season, you need to have 6 games under your belt. 3 of them we suggest and encourage and would request that are behind the plate. Everybody gets nervous and scared and said that they can't call balls and strikes, but you all do a pretty good job when you're in the dugout. So you should do just as good a job when you're behind the plate. So help us out. You guys did a great job last year as far as the scheduling goes, and we're going to do the same format and the same procedures that we did for majors. We're going to do it again this year. I'm going to have a sign-up sheet up here. I need everybody's name, email address, and phone number. And what I do is, once the schedule is made, Sarah will get the schedule to me, and we will schedule 1 week only. If there's a rain out, you're not assigned to that game. You're assigned to that date. So if the game is rained out, the slate is wiped clean. When it gets rescheduled, you have to put in for that game again. Everyone did a great job. I only had 1 or 2 no-shows last year. If something does come up, my cell phone number, I'm the easiest person in the world to get a hold of, all right? Email is eric@ericgates.net, and my cell phone number is 304-268-0870. You all will get my emails once I start sending stuff to you, but if you're not on that list and you need to contact me for any reason, get a hold of it. That's it. Any questions on the scheduling? Concerns? Super.
Okay, before we finish here, Bill Myers from softball wants to meet with the minor league teams and also Powder Puff softball. So when we're done, Powder Puff and minor league softball, go ahead, Brian.
T-ball managers coming in the afterwards.
T-ball manager, see Brian right where he's sitting before y'all leave us out. Okay, a couple more things here from Rich Cooper. He has a thing on our fundraising and some equipment issues. Mr. Rich Cooper.
If in the scheme of things here, because we only got 3 weeks and everybody thinks that's a long time between now and opening day, if you want names on your hats, either bring me a list or email me at initially yours at frontier.com. Tell me what your child's name is in all capital letters. Don't do upper and lower case because I can't see that good anymore. Don't go by what's on your readout sheet, because we're all human and we all make mistakes. So if you're going to have Johnny Smith's name put on the back of a hat, and you want Smith and 18 on there, put Smith, all capital letters, and 18. If he spells his name S-M-Y-T-H, and you put S-M-I-T-H, and my wife sews it in, that's not my problem. That's your problem, because I'm not going to pick it out. And my wife hates to pick, and I hear it all the time. It's enough said about that. Equipment. If you have equipment, and let's face it, everybody carries their own bats, gloves, helmets and stuff. So as you come and get your equipment, you seem like you're getting less and less. But my grandson carries his own helmet and 2 bats, and he can't hit a lick. But that's still okay. He carries it. And he has fun, as Jim says. He has fun. So if his granddad could do that, So anyway, if you have problems with your equipment, call me at the shop, and I'll get you whatever you need. And most of the time, when you're picking up your equipment, you're getting one set of catcher's gear, because a lot of kids carry their own catcher's gear that you know that you're going to use. But I have no idea what size the kid is, so why give you 2 sets when you only use one anyway? So just let me know. If you need something, let me know, and we'll get it for you. Don't worry about that. Another thing, we don't do fundraisers anymore, except for one, which is going to be a lottery ticket for the month of May. You will have a chance to win anything, anywhere from $100 to $500 during the month of May. There's going to be 1,000 tickets. They're going to cost the person $10 a piece, and we're asking each team to take a certain amount of them. If you can sell more, fine, but we would like to sell all 1,000, and we're going to give away a portion of that money. Now, here's the kicker. If you take 10 tickets, and the first day that they go off, you haven't brought those tickets back to me, guess who gets to buy those 10 tickets? You. So we need all the tickets back before the first day goes off. I will monitor those tickets, and that number, whatever number it is good for all month. The last time we did it, I had one woman win 3 times in 1 month, so don't tell me it doesn't happen, it does. And she was very happy. Now, I suggest that you buy them. If you get those tickets, and you only sell all of them, but 2, you can turn them back in. The last time we did it, Phil Munson gave me back like 5 tickets. That same night was a $1,000 winner, and he gave it back to me. I was very happy that he did. The Little League picked up $1,000. So anyway, that's the whole story. Sell the tickets. They're pretty easy to sell. Everybody knows 3 or 4 or 5, 6 people that buys it. It's like a fundraiser. It's a donation. Most people don't expect to win. But if you give me the ticket back, I actually call those people and say, hey, you won 50. The least amount you can win is $100 on any given day. On Wednesdays, you win $200. The first day and the last day of the month, you win $500. So that's the story of that. Any questions about that? Well, there's what, 50 teams, so there's 20 tickets. We'll probably give every team at least 10 tickets. It's because some people sell 30 or 40 to one person, you know. So, but you will probably, every team will probably get a minimum of 10. If you have somebody that's a go-getter and he wants more tickets, we'll give him more tickets. But we'd like to sell all 1,000 tickets. Okay? Thank you. Yeah.
Can you verify how much for the hats?
$5.
$5.
$5 for your name on the hat. And that's all between you and initial yours. That's nothing to do with the Little League. Okay. I think he can do them before they get passed out, right, Coop? Yeah. Volunteer forms. Everybody, manager, coaches are supposed to fill out a volunteer application. And then we do background checks on those volunteer applications. So if you have a manager or coach that's not here today, number one, they need to fill out a volunteer application if they have not. Number two, if they're not here today, they need to see the division vice president. We're videoing this. They need to see the video of this presentation before they can manage your coach. Okay? So volunteer forms are available on the Little League website or on the Hedgesville Little League website. I need a social security number with it, and I also need a copy of your driver's license. So before they can manage your coach on the field at all, I need that needs to be turned in, and also the background check needs to be done, which we can do a day or 2 or 3 after we get the application back from you guys. Okay? Medical release forms. Everybody should have the medical release forms, except for Double A, and I think they're meeting today. Medical release forms, guys, are important. You guys have been told about this before. Carry them with you at all times. Okay? You can make copies of them. For those of you that are playing in away games like Junior League and Junior League softball, you can make copies for another coach to carry with you if you're not going to be there. Make sure you got medical release forms. Nothing like a kid getting hurt and you don't have a medical release form with you there at home. That's not good. Picture day change, which is not our fault. I'm going to tell you now, it was scheduled on April 23rd. It is now on April the 30th. Okay, picture day is April the 30th. And right now we're scheduled for the Hedgesville Middle School. If it's nice and sunny on Saturday morning, we're going to set up on the high school baseball field. So it'll be one of the 2 places, depending on the weather. Pictures will definitely be on the 30th. We're not sure exactly where yet. Let's see. Facilities expectations. Minor league area down around the T-ball field itself, we're putting around $8,000 worth of new fence down there. All the fence is coming down except for the backstop. And one of the things that we always see down there every year is hitting into the chain link fence. Do not anywhere on the Little League property or softball field, do not hit into the chain link fence with a baseball or softball. You got that? Do not hit into the fence. They sell nets and stuff you can hit into, but do not hit into the fence. After your game or after your practice, make sure the field has been groomed. Pitcher's mound's groomed. We're ordering 2 new brooms, one for a softball field, one for a Little League field to groom the fields with. One other thing is a pet peeve of mine is do not sweep standing water into the grass. Okay, if you got a game that evening, you come in at 3, 4 o'clock and then just thunderstorm happened, you got a puddle of water shoveled into the grass. What you got in about 6 months is a daggone big old lip laying there, okay? So do not sweep water into the grass. All the division vice presidents should come out with a trash schedule. One of the things is the dumping trash, and we all recommend, the board recommends, is dumping the trash cans when they get half full, okay? So, we got plenty of garbage bags, but once it gets full and rainwater gets into them, they're too hard to take care of. Dump them when they're half. I believe most teams, and I know that most of the divisions won't have it for a week at a time. Okay, so we know who's doing the trash and who's not doing the trash. Let's see. Cancellations and rescheduling. Cancellations for all divisions comes from the division vice president, except for softball, that'll come from Bill. Okay, so Bill it'll be on Facebook. I think they texted the vice president of the divisions and stuff like that. But managers and coaches do not cancel games, okay? And managers and coaches do not reschedule games. In the spring, that all comes from the division vice president. And I think that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions? Okay, well, we'd like to thank everybody for coming out today, and don't forget the minor league and Powder Puffs meeting, T-Balls meeting, and everybody just have a great season. If there's any problems, see your division vice president. If they can't handle it, they can talk to me about it. Thank you all.